48 hours ago, almost every news organization ran the following headline. UN says 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in the next 48 hours under Israeli aid blockade. Now, here I am 48 hours later, not one child death reported in Gaza. Not one. Of course, there have been clashes, skirmishes, and occasionally there are civilian deaths of children, which are the result of Hamas hiding among civilians. But the report that said that people are going to be dying from hunger never ever materialized, never happened. Now, to be clear, I believe that any international humanitarian aid should be allowed into Gaza. Why? Because Israel doesn't have the responsibility to provide for Gaza. Gaza attacked Israel. But if there's an international organization, agency, or country that's giving aid to Gaza, I strongly believe that they should let it in easily. And I think it was a terrible mistake, the decision to not let some of the aid through Israel. Although always remember, Gaza does have a border with Egypt, which for more than a year was not used to facilitate aid into Gaza. But that's another conversation. But in terms of letting the aid in, they should. Point is there a famine in Gaza? Are there imminently 14,000 babies about to die? It's a lie. It was a lie. Not only that, NBC deleted that news item, and The Guardian apologized, and other organizations said, well, yeah, we understand, we were mistaken. What we meant was that in 48 hours, there's going to begin an imminent threat of malnutrition. Now, to be clear, there are thousands of babies in the United States, in Canada, in France, and in England that suffer from malnutrition. Malnutrition is a major problem. Child poverty is a huge problem. But you know what is not happening in Gaza? Famine. There's not an abundance of food. It's a war. But the absolutely fictitious story that was peddled was echoed around the world. And it reminded me of the time at the beginning of the war, not long after October 7th, when Hamas fired a rocket that landed in the parking lot of the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza, meaning it was a rocket fired by Hamas, landed in a parking lot of a hospital, and they put out the headline that 400 people have been killed by Israel bombing a hospital. The lie was repeated all over the world. The New York Times, NBC, BBC, everyone echoed that lie. Governments summoned ambassadors, politicians condemned Israel, and the consequence was intense. In fact, President Biden was going to visit certain countries in the Middle East, like Jordan, and they said, don't come here. After this heinous crime of Israel bombing this Al-Ahli hospital, we can't even talk with anyone who's talking to Israel. Turns out, not only did Israel not bomb the hospital, not only did a bomb not even hit the actual hospital, but it was a Hamas rocket that hit the hospital. The point is, nobody cared. By the time the cancellation, the update, the retractions came, people moved on to the other story. Or, as Mark Twain said, the lies make it around the world, while the truth is just putting together its shoestraps. Not exact quote, but pretty much that's the idea, that while a lie starts traveling the world, the truth needs to scramble and get itself together. And by the time the truth comes out, the lie has already gone all over the world. The idea that people take reports out of Gaza seriously, the idea that such a brazen headline, which should have been clear to all, false. It's so clear that if you have a situation where 14,000 children are about to die in the next 48 hours, there needs to be extremely overwhelming evidence that shows such a thing. But there wasn't, and yet people keep peddling it. Why? Because it's a way of work. It's a way to demonize Israel. It's become the modus operandi of so many media outlets. and it's become a way to demonize Israel and to hurt its reputation and to bring negative consequences. In fact, after this headline came out, Britain, France, and others summoned their Israeli ambassadors. They made declarations about their intent to recognize a Palestinian state. And so who can blame the people out there in Gaza propagating lies when they are rewarded so mightily for their extraordinary lies? Now, is there a humanitarian crisis in Gaza? Yes, because there's a huge amount of structural damage, and there's no question that Hamas hiding behind so many civilian infrastructures that the destruction of Hamas means that also civilians get hurt. The IDF does its best to prevent that, but that does happen. It's a war. That's unfortunately what happens in war. Do I think the war is managed brilliantly and perfectly? Absolutely not. I think that the Netanyahu government, with his extreme coalition partners, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, have been dragging on the war. I think that another leader that is more competent and wise would have done a much better job. The idea of preventing humanitarian aid now achieves nothing. I think that that was a very big mistake. And of course, there's many things to criticize the war. In fact, there are ways to criticize the way World War II was managed. Did the Allies need to bomb Dresden? Not necessarily. There's all kinds of decisions that are made in war that, in hindsight, you say, okay, was that really necessary? That's not the point. The point is that Israel is fighting a just war, and the cause for every single death in Gaza is Hamas, because Hamas has the ability to return the hostages. It doesn't. Hamas has the ability to agree to a ceasefire. It won't. And Hamas has the ability to give up its arms. It will not. And Hamas also has the option of surrendering, but it refuses, just like we've seen in Germany, also a psychotic leader in 1945, who refused to surrender and brought about so much destruction on Berlin. So yes, there's destruction in Gaza. There's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The war is not managed in a way that is, the most agreeable to me, but it's a just war. It's a necessary war, and Hamas cannot remain, because just today we've seen Hamas firing rockets at Israeli civilians. That cannot happen. Israel cannot be asked to live under Hamas rockets, so Hamas must be defeated. I hope the war ends very soon. I hope the people of Gaza get some peace and calm and embrace peace and coexistence with Israel. Most importantly, I do hope the hostages return very, very soon, but the media needs to be held accountable for the lies and anti-Semitism that it spreads, for spreading blood libels. The media must be held accountable for spreading blood libels like the one about the 14,000 children about to die within 48 hours. And of course, then they put in small letters that they retract that. There needs to be accountability for that, because the consequences that they impose on Israel are real.